Okay, so now we are proceeding to the last part of the program, or the last parts of the program. If you've gotten this far, you should have a page that, well, I'll show you what you should have. You should have a page where when you select a particular calculator, it brings up that calculator. And actually, it looks like I did not connect all of mine, but you get the general idea, and I'm not going to go through selecting those last two or adding those additional else-if statements on camera. You guys should be able to figure it out, and to those of you who asked for help today after trying to scan through the video really fast and then just copy the code at the end, if you had listened to the video, you'd know that I told you this is the template to do it. You're going to have to add the remaining functions yourself, or the remaining if-else statements yourself, to make the rest of the calculator show up. But now, what we need to do is to run the actual code that makes the calculator calculate. And what I did was, if you'll notice, when we created the HTML that we saved into the variables, we had try area. Oops, that should say try area. On click equals try area. On this one, we have on click equals rec area. On this one, we have on click equals L area. And on the last one, we have on click equals, where did we go? On click equals, oh, yeah, here we go, CIR area. So what we have to do is we have to write those functions. So we're going to have a function for each one. And the first one is going to be try area. Okay, so I'm going to call this function try area. And when we click on the button for the triangle calculator, so if we've gone into our page here and we've said I want to do a triangle calculator, and we've entered the widths and we hit calculate, it is going to give us our answer. And it's going to give us our answer down here in, if you'll recall, there were two divs. There was a calculator div and a result div. So it's going to give us the answer in the results div. So what we'll do is we will first get the values from the two inputs, and they are labeled high and wide. So what we'll do is we will do a document. Well, actually, first we need to create a variable, or two variables, high and wide, and we will say high equals get document dot get element by ID, and we are going to, the particular element we're going to get it from, if we go back up here and look at our code, is the input box that has the ID of high. And I'm sorry, it's not inner HTML, it is the value, because that is a text box, and text boxes don't have inner HTMLs, they have values. So that's going to take the value out of that height box. And we're going to have the width box, and you're going to be document dot get element by ID wide, the value of that. Then we need to output our text to the result page. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do that in a couple of steps. I'm going to say that I'm going to create some I'm going to create another variable. We don't have to do this as a variable, but that's the way I'm going to do it for this one. And I'm going to call this variable output. And I'm going to say equals, output equals, let's see, your triangle is, and plus I. I'm going to put actually this in parentheses so it does the math first. I times y width. Is it width or wide? I'm sorry, it should be wide. High times wide times 0.5, because that is the formula for the area of a triangle. It's the height times the width times 1/2. So high times wide plus 0.5. And then I want to put inside of a string a BR, because I want to go to the next line and say output equals output plus, so it's going to take all that stuff from the first line and add to the end of it your triangle was plus high. You'll see what I'm doing here is I'm labeling the output. I always label my output for my users so that it is easy for them to understand what the result they're looking at means. And so if they mistype something, they may catch it when they read the output. So, and then one last line. You notice I don't have any units in this, which is fine for this. If we were going to be real fancy, we'd put in units and ask them what units they were using, but we're not going to go that out of our way. Okay, so now we've built this input that says how high and how wide our triangle is, and the last thing we need to do is to put that output in our result div. And the way we do that is through the document, get element by ID, and I think it was result, inner HTML, because we're replacing the inner HTML of that div with output. Right, and I forgot my semicolons at the end of this. There we go. So let's try it out. And right now, only the triangle is connected because we only have the, one more thing, I need the closing curly bracket for my function. We only have this one function done. We don't have any other, so only the triangle is going to work right now, if it works at all. And I'm doing this in real time. I make mistakes, so there is a possibility that I made a mistake. But we'll pull it over here. We'll check it out. So triangle, I'm going to go triangle height. I'm going to say 4. Width is 6. Calculate. It didn't work. So let me inspect to see what went wrong. Try area is not defined. So, that's interesting because try area is, I see my problem. Oops. So let's move that out of the way. I'll fix my problem. My problem is this function started right here and I never ended it because this is the opening curly bracket for the if statement. This is the one for the else if. There's not one for the whole function. So let me try that, and that made this one not show up correctly. That's why it said that there is no such function as that. Oh, now it doesn't like something else. Let's see what that thing is on line 47. It doesn't like unexpected token on line 47. So let's look to line 47. And that closed that function, that opened that function. Oh, and that was extra. Didn't need that after all. So let's run it one more time, or actually we can just saved it. We'll refresh it. I'm going to select my shape. I'm going to say triangle. I'm going to close this extra window here. We're going to say 5 and 6. And that is right. My triangle is 15. It's 5 high, 6 wide, 15. I don't have units, but again, not a big deal. Now, if you really wanted to pretty up your page a little bit, what you could do is you could make this box a little smaller because it's awful big. You could add some kind of units to it, or you just say units, I guess. But one other thing that I want to do here, and this, to me, these should always be in sync. So if I say triangle, it should have the triangle calculator. If I say rectangle, it should have the rectangle calculator. Circle, it should have the circle calculator. And ellipse, it should have the ellipse calculator. So if you see here, I created a no-calc variable. And I'm going to add one more else if, and again, you have more else ifs to add up here. But if else if shape type equals none, then we are going to just copy this, put document.element by ID, and instead of rectangle calculator, when that happens, we want no calc. Save. So now, if I refresh my page here, and I select rectangle, I get the rectangle calculator. If I go back to select shape, it goes back to saying choose shape above to continue. And that's what I wanted to happen. So it won't clear the result. You could make yours clear the result if you want, but you don't have to. So here's what you have left to do. From the last video, if you haven't done it already, you need to finish the if-else-if statement, adding the calculators for the ellipse and the circle. Those are each going to be separate functions. So, or after that, you need to add separate functions, and they're going to be named after the functions that you call from here. So for the rectangle, my onClick equals is rec area, so that's what this function needs to be. And I'm going to have a function for ELL area, that's the ellipse calculation. And I am going to have the last one is going to be the function for the CIR area. And I will tell you this, don't work on the circle area one yet for this reason. The circle area one's a little bit different. If you look at the circle area one from the original completed one, if you recall, and I don't have it to pull, I probably do have it to pull up here. Let me pull up the original completed area calculator. You will see that circle is a little different because it asks for radius and diameter. And the thing that's really different about it is that if we change both, it deletes the last one that we entered so that it doesn't accidentally have two, which would be confusing because you don't need both to calculate it, and the calculations are different. So don't worry about the computation for the circle. You just need to work on the rectangle and the ellipse. And once you've done that, you'll be ready for the next video.